Call this meeting to order, committee of the whole. We call the roll. Shabu?
Here.
Morris?
Here.
Moore?
Here.
Thompson?
Here.
Lunder?
Here.
Bittner?
Here.
And I'm here. All right. On the agenda tonight is reviewing ordinance number 2022-0-05 as it's been amended by the zoning committee at this point. Before we start this, I want every member of council to put out of their minds for a few moments at least the proposal by the Summers Group. I want you to look at this legislation without consideration of their proposal. I also want you to ignore, at least for a moment, the corner lot there that used to be the Jaeger's lot, what it looks like today, what it is today. I want you to just ignore that. I want you to look at the legislation as it is here proposed for us tonight. The first question I'm going to ask each of you is, why do we need it? What are we trying to accomplish with the legislation? So who wants to answer that? Who has an answer to Mr. Bittner?
So my understanding of the PUD development is flexibility to offer more possibilities for developing some of these properties that are still developable. That's my understanding.
Okay. My question then would be, why do we feel we need that added flexibility? It seems like it was just a few years ago when I chaired the zoning committee that we went section by section through the city and reviewed the zoning of the city. We created business 1 and business 2 districts. We opened it up from office district to allow new businesses to come into our city. So why do we feel that we need additional flexibility now? What did we not do then that we feel like we need to do?
Mr. President, concerning the PUD, in my opinion is, I'm not sure we really need the PUD if we can overlay other zoning types on top of that for future use, whether it be at that property or any other property in the future. So do we need the PUD? I'm not really sure.
Well, you can't have an overlay district without something to put
Well,
over it, which is the PUD.
In that case, then the PUD would be required. It gives some flexibility to do certain things without going crazy on it and try to let people move forward. Okay, but what has really clouded the issue is, as you just said earlier, the property, the proposed project. That's all clouded this whole issue and made this document kind of a difficult thing to deal with. That's my opinion of it, because it states very here, right at the beginning here, on every version of this, and God only knows we've got enough of it, the purpose and application. And to a point, I understand that, I'm just not sure it's necessary.
I think putting a PUD in place now is drawing more attention to that, to bring more people in. We've had it like this since, for what, 2 years now that you've done this? Maybe
A little longer, mostly through a pandemic, but yes.
Yeah, business 1 and business 2, and it drew nobody in.
Well, I would disagree with that. I mean, we now have a Well Now clinic that is coming in.
Right.
We have Pelican Snowballs, which before that was the Crooked Corner.
Right.
Neither of which would be able to have been in our original office district that exists.
There was some progress made in rezoning some of the areas from the old classifications we had to business 1 and 2. Plus, it also gave the residents some protection against the odors, sound, lights, et cetera, from businesses that move in adjacent to residential property. If I remember right, Rob, that's why we did what we did, part of it.
My understanding of all the zoning is that if we have a property zone, for example, business one, and somebody wants to put in, say, condominiums. We currently have zoning for various types of condominiums. But they would have to apply for it to be completely rezoned. So we would have to go through the process of rezoning whatever parcel or parcels to fit what they were requesting. The PUD was kind of presented as a way to create this district to give some flexibility, but regardless, we still have to rezone any parcel to match what the developer would be requesting, if I'm understanding correctly.
Yes, there's also a limitation that we don't like to spot zone properties either.
Get your answer yet?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Something to ask.
If this becomes an ordinance, it gives us a little bit of flexibility that we otherwise wouldn't have. It doesn't mean that every project is going to fall into the PUD, but it gives us an option to have developers make presentations, explore other options without maybe doing a whole lot of rezoning and legal work that may or may not come to fruition.
One of the things that we did when I was zoning committee chairman was, and we looked through all of the zoning, was we really tried to limit the amount of additional housing that was going to be present in our city. For instance, we took the lot of where Lake Elementary School is, and we made sure that we rezoned that so that it would have the largest lot sizes of our properties. There was a desire not to go towards more high-density housing. I'm not opposed to some additional high-density housing if it makes sense in the right location. So that's my biggest issue. And I'm concerned over creating a PUD that opens Pandora's box of, well, now we can apply it here, 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 we can apply it here. And we've now added a whole bunch of higher density housing where we ideally would have businesses. I mean, that was one of the reasons we really wanted to open up what was the office district to allow more businesses to come down to the end of the street. I mean, I know I've heard a lot of concerns over traffic if there were some high density housing put in. I can promise those people that there would be far more traffic if there's businesses in that area, far more traffic.
I'm back to my statement. I'm not sure we need to put them.
Hey, what is the general consensus of this body? Do we feel we need that flexibility? Do we feel like we got it wrong when we rezoned?
No, I don't think we got it wrong when we rezoned. There was a lot of work that went into that committee with you. You did most of the work.
I mean, I'm okay if people say we got it wrong, we think we need that extra flexibility. I mean, that's this body's decision.
I don't feel that we got it wrong. There could just be possibility for improvement, or if that's what we so choose, or flexibility, like I was saying, like it was, for me, it was the ability for different types and styles of businesses. I don't think we got it wrong. I don't think,
I don't think, I think we're right on board with it, really. Flexibility, too, I think.
I would agree with that as well.
All right, and if we're gonna look at this ordinance as it's proposed. The amended version is what we're going to start with. We've gone through the purpose of what you're looking for. There was some added material there in red from the zoning committee. Is there any additions or corrections that anybody wants to make to the purpose? Yes.
I would say, there was discussion about, should we call this the lakefront plan unit development? Or should it not be the lake? I think there was a lot of confusion by having the word lakefront in there. So in the title, and in that, we should discuss keeping or removing the word lakefront from it.
Thoughts?
I would say remove it.
My understanding, I'm not saying I'm for or against it, the reason that it was named such is because this is a lakefront city.
I'd be for removing lakefront from it.
Is that the general consensus here? Remove the term lakefront, leave it as just a planned unit development district. Other comments? Under purpose. You know, Mrs. Moore had a few.
So, in item number 1, I just corrected the spelling of aesthetic amenities. That's misspelled on there. And then there was talk about, you know, we don't want something where it's gonna be cookie cutter anything. So from all of our other zoning codes, there was a sentence in those which reads, monotony shall be avoided. Variation of detail, form, and sighting shall be used to provide visual interest. So I was thinking about making a proposal to add that to number 2. So that would read to foster a variety, insert the word of housing types and styles of housing. Monotony shall be avoided. Variation of detail, form, and sighting shall be used to provide visual interest.
Thoughts?
That goes along with what Mr. Boucher had said.
Right.
I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
So do I.
Do you have any others in that section? Anyone else have any additions or corrections to that section you want to add or change? Okay, moving on. Designation of PUD overlay district.
Johnson, can I ask you a quick question? Scott Wilhelm, 7573 Salida. Will the public have ability to comment as you go section by section, or would you like us to make comments at all the end, or?
Actually, I'm not going to be opening it up to the public for the night.
Okay,
You'll be able to make your comments at the next council meeting.
okay, thank you, sir.
So are there any changes to PUD overlay district definition?
Just removing lakefront again from.
Right.
that section.
Zoning map amendment required. that section. No, Mrs. Moore had one.
I was looking at adding a number 3 to that. And kind of wording it to the fact that the PUZ zoning can be applied to properties zoned as business district 1 per our ordinance 1258, which outlines that business district area.
So the PUD will only apply in the business 1 district. Is that what we want?
I don't have a problem with that.
Why would we limit to one?
Or do we
Just-
want to make it business district 1 or business district 2? I
No,
don't
'cause
know
I'm
if
looking
this
at
would
the
be
map.
something that we would be applying to residential districts or anything like that.
I don't know, because business 2 is really only the apartments down on, which aren't abutting to residents. Well, no, those are apartments as well. I don't know, for some reason. If we wanted to apply to it, we couldn't. I don't know, maybe I thought you had a-
I'm just looking at it as a suggestion, if we want to specify where this can be used. I don't know if somebody would, if this would be applicable to a residential area or any of our current condominium districts or
You would
anything like
eliminate-
that.
Professional building area
Mhm.
by doing that,
Mhm.
possibly, which
The professional building is in business too, right?
it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Why would we want to apply to business too?
I looked at business 1 because that's the entrance road corridor that
Mhm.
is where most of the problem.
Why business 2, you asked?
Yeah.
Because I was just, like I was stating, you got the professional building area. What
Yeah, but look at the definition of 1 and 2. One says business district 1 are those lots that are shown on the zoning map. It has a general rule, business district 1 lots abut single family district.
Correct.
Business district 2 are those lots that are shown on the zoning map. As a general rule, business district 2 lots primarily abut a non-single family district.
That's pretty much probably where I would more want to apply this in a 2 than a 1.
I was looking at it with business district 1 abutting residential properties.
So putting high density against
It-
residential.
Gives us more, like I said, I just put it in there as a suggestion. We can keep it, we can get rid of it. It's up to you guys.
I would say business 1 or 2, but that's my personal. If you're gonna apply it, you can do it equally. I say equally apply it to 1 or 2, but that's my. The ability, it's not saying we have to
Yeah,
anyway. I mean,
right.
this is all gonna be
Right.
determined on. what we want. I would not limit it to one.
Okay, so we want it to be 1 and 2?
Yeah.
General consensus, 1 and 2?
I was just looking at, because what I'm afraid of is that if we don't put that in there,
Mhm.
and somebody in a residence buys, say, 3 lots together, could they say, I want to use the PUD and put in like duplex or triplex housing? So that's why I'm looking at, should we specify this only applies to the business district and not a residential district?
I would say business district would be the best. See what you're saying. If they buy a couple lots, they can then say, I want to build townhomes or whatever we say. I would say limited to business district.
One and two.
That's fair.
PUD would apply to business 1 and 2 only. Okay. Any changes or additions to ownership? An application for the approval of a PUD overlay must be submitted by one or more owners, et cetera, on that section. Other than the typo under effective rezoning to PUD overlay district, is there anything anyone wishes to amend there?
Did you, under B, says the application of lakefront, but we're eliminating lake.
Everywhere that lakefront is there will be eliminated. Yeah. Okay. 1255.03 development area. So the minimum area is set at 2 acres, except as otherwise permitted in 1255.03B. Is that acceptable?
What was it again?
The minimum development site for a PUD is 2 acres, except as otherwise permitted in 1255.03B. Is that acceptable with everyone?
Yes.
Okay. Under B, minimum area modification, is there any additions or changes there?
I'm curious, sir.
Yes.
Under section 3 of that, not have any unreasonable or adverse impact on adjacent areas or the community was added in red. What is meant by adverse impacts on the community?
That would be for both the Planning and Zoning Commission and council to determine what they determine to be adverse.
I think leaving in the community gives it a little.
Anybody else in that section? Hearing none, we'll move on to ownership. That one. Site development plans. I believe Mrs. Moore had a addition for that under site development plans.
Under section D, the third line down, so it reads, preliminary site development plan shall cover the entire PUD overlay district, indicating the uses, density, buildings, parking, landscaping, and open space. And then I was looking at adding in there, in accordance with section 125507, which is the development standards section. So the site development plan would have to fall in line with what is in that development standards section of the proposed ordinance.
Thoughts, concerns?
It's more of a definition of it.
Okay. Anybody else have anything else to add or change in that section? 1255.04 permitted buildings and uses.
I'd like to make a comment.
Yes.
I like multifamily dwellings deleted, and it looks like mixed use structure is lying through. I'd like to keep that.
Well, just to clarify, mixed use structures would already be allowed in business 1 and 2.
Right.
So that's why it would be unnecessary if it's
It
an
is
overlay
it is
district.
redundant.
It's redundant. So removal of multifamily dwellings.
I would go with that.
If we remove it here, we'll remove it. Rest of it.
Thoughts? Comments? Okay. Any other additions or corrections to that section?
Just for clarification, we're gonna go ahead and go with the red changes as well then, if we're agreeing on that.
I don't see you.
That's what I'm saying, if nobody comments, are we keeping it?
What's that, Kevin?
The red corrections from the committee. Right, so I'm
So
asking.
everybody's fine with that?
We're keeping, if we don't say, we're keeping, just so I know. Okay.
Okay. Accessory buildings and uses. Anything needed in that section? Hearing none, we'll move on to 1255.05 density regulations. Maximum density by dwelling type, part A. Does anybody have anything there?
These multi.
Correct.
Michelle came up with 14 maximum units, and she did that by,
Hold on a second. We're still just on A,
yeah,
E yet. So it makes maximum density of dwelling type. Is there anything there anybody feels needed? Okay. B, maximum number of units per structure. That's now going to be the table below. Maximum units per acre for one family detached is what?
5.
5? Okay. Townhome condominium is, you proposed,
I'm proposing increasing that to 14, which goes along with what's in our, it is similar to what is in our current elderly garden and garden.
thoughts?
Makes it consistent.
Okay, so townhouse condominium would be 14. Maximum units per acre. Remove multifamily dwelling. Anything else? Hearing none, we'll move on to 1255.06 maximum coverage.
Under A, remove number 5 from multifamily dwelling.
Yes. Anything else? Okay. 1255.07 development standards. Okay, Mrs. Moore proposed some changes to 1255.07B, the minimum setbacks from street right of way. Did you share that?
So in our current 658, I pulled this out of those ordinances. So I'm making a proposal that we return the 25 feet back to the 35 feet. And then pull the sentence from the current zoning codes, which reads, where 20% or more of the aggregate street frontage of the abutting property between two successive intersecting streets is occupied by buildings, the average of the setbacks of the existing buildings within 100 feet on either side of the lot shall determine the setback line for that lot.
I'd go along with that.
Makes it more consistent.
Yep.
It's in 1254, 56, 57.
All right, C, maximum height, other than removing multifamily. Comments, questions, concerns in that section?
That sentence comes from 1252, 08. That helps. That helps.
Okay, nothing else on maximum height, other than removing multifamily? All right. Dwelling unit area requirements. That's part D. Anything there? Okay. E, parking spaces.
Mr. President,
Yes.
section number 2, no parking space shall be less than 180 square feet in areas, drives, curbs, turning spaces, except excluded. The minimum width shall be 9 feet. I thought our current 10 feet. Why would this be any different? And the reason I'm bringing that up is to those people that are handicapped, getting out of a narrower parking space, getting out of your vehicle in there creates a problem when you start narrowing it down.
I believe the state law is 9 by 20.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It used to be 10 by 20. Trust me.
But
But at work, they shrunk their spots. As soon as they're able. Comments, concerns? Okay. Part F, utilities. Any concern with that? Will the utilities be underground? Refuse collections shielded. Sounds good.
Do you want to add three-sided shielding, like the rest is called out for the city, or do you think that is going to be sufficient enough for shielding? Three-sided.
My answer to that would be if it should be part of the development plan. I mean, how it's being shielded, what's being used.
Provided to us.
Yes, that should all be part of the development plan. I mean, we can define it if we want to.
Views kind of.
Yeah.
1255.08, approval of development plans and development agreement. Part A, development plans. Michelle, you had a correction there?
Yes, so our zoning code for the development plans is actually, if I'm correct, it's section 1222, not 1242.
Development plan review on 12/2.
1222 is procedure.
There's the procedures for submitting those plans and stuff is 1222.
I think you're correct, Michelle.
Okay. Good with that?
Because 124205 is for a certificate of occupancy.
Okay. Part B, review required. Again, we'll take away lakefront from the verbiage.
2 of them.
Comments, corrections, additions? Hearing none, move on to C, approval of preliminary plans. After planning and zoning approves, and council would need to approve. Okay. Development agreement. The additions or corrections to that section. Okay. Execution of development agreement. Anything there? Okay. Modifications to an approved preliminary development plan. Hearing none. Approval of final development plans. Okay, that was the last section of the ordinance.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
if I could, we've gone so far in this PUD to define parking spaces and so forth.
Mhm.
There's one other concern I have,
Sure.
and that is the driveway radiuses. I know we have a section 1264.05 that addresses that, and it's on the approval of the fire chief. I wonder, because you're also talking that this is supposed to be very compact development, that should we have something in there that requires that as well? 1264.05, I believe it is.
Well, we have traffic moving areas between parallel parking spaces,
Yeah.
but
I think it should be 20.
so what would you like it to be in there?
Well,
Add in there.
I was looking that up and I haven't gotten that far. but,
Okay.
I think there's just some worried in there. It says that the fire chief has, it says all drives shall be constructed with 7 inches of concrete, 24-foot wide, with a turning radius approved by the fire chief. That's so that he can get his equipment in and out of the parking lot without worries about damaging tires or
Sure,
anything else.
sure.
So, and I think something like that should be placed in this document somewhere, because we went so far as to define the parking space and what the width of the driveways are gonna be between parallel park cars.
So repeat the section you just said.
It's in 1264.05, and it's in
Mhm.
subsection B as in boy.
Where you-
Quite honestly, when we got rid of the multifamily dwelling, my concern was also going to be to raise that under maximum height was 40 feet. I think the fire department should have some input on that. But now that that's not in there, we don't need that. And perhaps that could be placed.
So
under
wait,
some-
1264.05 drives only refers to the yacht club district.
Yeah,
That's the yacht club.
Yeah, but there's a similar language in every one of these.
Okay.
I remember that because when we got the telesport, we had to increase that radius.
So do we want to add in just that? All drives shall be constructed with 7 inches of concrete, 24 feet wide and
In 125408,
54.
there's a thing in there about access drives. So access drive shall be provided to service the parking spaces and permit egress of emergency vehicles. Access drives shall not be less than 18 feet in width for two-way vehicular movement or 10 feet in width for one-way movement. Access drives and parking spaces shall be paved with dustless permanent pavement, asphalt or concrete. Storage garages for private automobiles and maintenance of vehicles accessory to apartment projects shall be only enclosed and may be permitted adjacent. And then it refers to the provisions of part 16 of the fire prevention code. Which is from the elderly. care code. Do we want to look at those and kind of pull the best wording from all of those to add in there?
That would be fine. My intent is to make sure the fire apparatus can get in and out safely.
To go along with like number 1, which is the access drives.
Yes.
And put that under parking spaces.
Here, under, in 16.1610.04, additional regulations, under A, fire lanes, establishment and use. It says in number 2, the minimum allowable radius shall be 20 feet at the intersections of all driveways, highways, roadways, and any other means of ingress for fire apparatus. Because technically the driveways would be a fire lane. Maybe it would just be simple enough to say that in this PUD. All driveways and entrances or egresses from the property shall comply with fire lane code.
You're saying the driveways themselves are fire lanes?
Not the individual driveways.
That's what I meant, okay. To drive into it, yeah,
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
Access
So they
drives
have
shall
to be
be
20.
provided
yeah,
to
That's all under the fire code.
right. Well, that's under our fire prevention code. It's not state fire code. At least it wasn't when I was.
That's why.
It's on our state.
20. Oh, it's caught by the.
How many feet was that?
20.
20?
It was, the minimum allowable radius shall be 20 feet at the intersection of all driveways, throughways, roadways, or any other means of ingress for fire apparatus.
And where's that from?
That's in 1610.04, additional regulations under A, fire lanes, establishment and use, and that is actually number 2.
Could we just put in there 16? All of it.
It goes on, it says a fire lane defines what a fire lane is too. Which may be in the fire code too, not Kevin.
All of it.
I just know those tires are expensive.
All right.
So you want to do all 1 through 7?
Up to council. Sure.
Just say refer to 1610.04 A 1 through 7.
That has to be followed no matter what's built. correct?
Yes.
So I mean, really, you're putting.
You're just clarifying it.
I mean, it's gotta be done no matter what. Whatever.
Because you've also stated what parking spaces will be.
Right, that's why, you know. really shouldn't-
I mean, do we even need to have it in there if it is required already for all of the city by our fire?
It's up to you.
You know,
Just ask.
for the PUD, I think we should just keep the things that are specific to the PUD. I mean, I see his point to add it to kind of clarify, but it's gonna have to be done whether PUD's applied, not applied.
Right, that's fine.
So you're kind of being redundant, but like he said, it also goes with the parking. It's the same thing. No matter where you put the parking.
And in all honesty, and following what Mr. Boucher said, the more clarity you add, the less chances are you're gonna have problems.
It's true, but my problem would be that if we put it there and then that 1610.04 later gets changed to something else, we don't always catch it
So
elsewhere.
then, like they said,
Isn't it-
just refer to 1610.
We can do that. We can refer to
Yeah.
1610.04. Okay,
I mean, it's not gonna hurt.
I just don't want to have it too many places and then have it get screwed up one and then not in the other, because we've done that.
Like we've
before.
already done.
Okay. So additional regulations to that. Okay, was there anything else that needs to be added, changed, or corrected? Hearing none. What is the next step then? Just take it out of committee and put it on second reading?
My question has been, is this document close enough to the original that it's still the same original document? Or should it be considered a new one to go back to planning and zoning to review one more time, send it back to council? I'm just asking.
I mean, planning and zoning is here right now, so.
Well,
I mean, it's not like we're gonna refer it back to them. I mean,
where's planning and zoning?
oh, you mean planning and zoning commission?
Yes,
Oh, sorry, I'm thinking.
you're thinking zoning.
Right.
We can approve it as amended.
I'm just asking. I want to make sure this thing clean.
So you're saying with our changes, as the committee as a whole, send it back to
Planning and
planning
zoning,
and zoning to review again.
yes. And then it comes back to council
Go to council.
instead of going back to committee. Send it right back to council if they approve. If they don't approve, it comes back to committee.
I mean, I respect that. We've made a fair amount of changes to let them look at it again. I don't have a problem.
Okay, what I will propose is that the next council meeting, pull it out of committee on second reading, we submit it to them. Their next meeting, they review it. It goes to third reading at the next council meeting after that. Reasonable to everybody? Okay. Anything else? Hearing none. Motion to adjourn.
One last thing.
Yes.
I'd like to thank Michelle Moore for her changes in that. That was well done.
Yes.
Well done.
Thank you.
And with that, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Okay. Vote by acclamation. All in
Aye.
favor? Anybody opposed? Didn't think so. Meeting is adjourned.